Hey guys, Rob here and welcome back to part 8, which should be the final episode in how to build the Pocher 1/8 scale Lamborghini Huracan. Now if you watched the last part 7, I actually fitted all the windows, doors, side skirts and front body section onto the main unit of the car. Now we're going to continue on and complete the rear of the model. So that's pretty much all that's got to be done. The rear of the model, the wheel liners, brakes and wheels can go onto the model. So should be able to wrap this model up in this particular episode. I still haven't dealt with the door trim clearance problems on the inside, but we'll sort that out at the end of this episode. So yeah, we're just going to move on to assembling the rear part of the body, and then that will all get fitted onto the main model. So sit back, relax, and here we go. Time to finish this baby. Okay, so a bit of an update here. So that is the rear lower part of the bumper done with the mesh glued in and the exhaust outlet. So that was pretty straightforward. I did paint this part in full gloss black and then finished it off in 2K clear, just so it matches the black on the side skirts rather than doing it all in carbon fiber. But that looks pretty cool. That was the rear section of the body finished as well, with the engine cover attached, all the tail lights fitted. So that part is actually ready to go onto the body as well. So getting very close now. And one thing I also did while I was painting yesterday, I clear coated my carbon fiber engine brace. So not sure whether you can see that. It's pretty glossy, so it's hard to see the carbon fiber, but I just did all the arms in carbon fiber and left the X brace in the middle in gloss black. So yeah, that is my carbon fiber engine brace. So I'm going to screw that into the model before I actually put the rear bodywork section on. But that's basically it. So that's the next step, is to fit this rear section of the body onto the chassis. And then we've just got brake rotors, wheel liners and wheels and under trays to go on there. So we are getting really close, guys. So I will get the engine brace on now and get this rear diffuser and rear piece of bodywork on the model. Okay, so that was impossible to film trying to fit that rear part of the bodywork. There are little tabs that you have to get underneath the roof section there. You've also got to get the tabs in behind the side skirts as well. I actually got a little minor paint chip there which I'll have to touch up, but it was a little bit tricky getting that to fit. You have to stretch the body a little bit either side to clear the roof and the windows, but then you have to tuck it in at the bottom to get it into the side skirts. So yeah, and there is actually a screw in the door jamb here. I actually put a little screwdriver in there to line up the hole and try and pull this whole section forward, but I was able to get those screwed up tightly. So yeah, looking pretty good. This door does seem to stay shut on this side now. It still does not have the inner door card in there. I still have to sand that down, but it does close. I have to say that the gap is pretty large where this section joins the door, whereas the door gap is a lot better through here. So yeah, fit and finish of this kit, definitely not as good as the Pocher Aventador, but yeah, pretty happy with the way that it is coming together. I may actually paint these upper strut braces black. I don't like them in silver, but you can actually see my carbon fiber engine brace in there as well. The rest of the surrounds I just painted in matte black, but yeah, it looks pretty good I think so far. So we're going to keep moving forward. The next step basically is to flip the model over and fit the wheel liners, and then we'll tackle the brake rotors, and then maybe test fit the wheels and check the stance of this model, because I have been told that these sit quite high as well. So yeah, pretty happy so far how this is all coming together, except for the fitment issues. But yeah, we'll keep moving forward and try and get the wheel liners and brakes done now. Now, time for a bit of an update here. I've actually screwed the wheels back onto the model just to check the height. Now you can see the model sits quite high in the front and also in the rear as well. Now there's hardly any more weight to go back on this model other than a few plastic parts, so I just wanted to check that, and now I can actually take the wheels off. And what I'm going to do is actually just cut one of the rings off the springs on the shock absorbers front and rear, and that should enable the model to sit a lot lower, which is what I want. It just sits too high in my opinion, sitting like that. Now I've also had to play around with the door also, and I've got the door basically shutting almost flush. It does just sit a tiny bit proud, but it is a lot better than it was. Now what I did to get that to sit flush was, there is a mounting screw in here. I took that screw out and I actually used a drill bit and I countersunk that hole a little bit more and then put the screw back in. And also what I did, I had to sand some off the front edge of the window here because it was binding on the trim. So once I sanded that window there and recess that screw in a bit more, the door is nearly flush. It could go in maybe 0.5 mil to 1 millimeter, but that's as good as it's going to get. And I did have to sand some of the door trim as well, so you can see here that I just sanded a little bit off this shape here, and I also sanded some of the end as well. So I haven't painted these yet because I wanted to show you just where I had to sand. So that actually clips on now and the door stays in the same position. So that was quite an accomplishment on that side. Now I'll show you the other side. Now this side, the door was actually pretty good. It did close and it is flush with the body there. There was no sanding required on the window at all to make the door stay shut. But what I had to do on this one to fit the door jamb, or the door trim I should say, is sand quite a lot out of this recess, this concave recess, and I had to sand quite a bit off the end of the door trim as well, because there was just not enough clearance here where it sits up against the dashboard. So I haven't painted these yet, repainted them to actually show you, but I do have to fill like a little hole there, it's a little divot, and repaint the door trim. So quite a bit of sanding on the driver's side door trim to actually make that fit, but I've test fit that and it does fit on and the door stays in its closed position. So we're having a win there, which is good. So now I can finish the door trims and put those on. As I say, I'm going to just cut one of the springs, or one ring of the springs, just so that the model will sit a little bit lower, and then we can just move on and finish this model. So next will be the wheel liners, front and rear, then the brake rotors, which I'll show you. I've got something special for the treatment of the brake rotors, and then we can wrap this model up. Okay, so that is all the wheel well liners in and all the floor sections on. So this model is getting much bigger now, and it's pretty much hard to film as I usually do. So they all basically screwed on, no issues there at all. Now the next thing we're going to tackle, which is the last thing before the wheels go on, is the brakes. Now these are the brake rotors that come with the kit, and they look a bit plasticky to me, so I wasn't too happy when I first unboxed the model and saw these. So I've actually grabbed a photo etched brake set for the Pocher Huracan. Now these are made by Tremonia. These will be spray painted to look like a carbon ceramic brake, but they also have all the little bolt heads as well, if the camera will focus there, that will actually replace all the bolts that run around this two-piece rotor as well. So that will be the next step to do all of these brake rotors, and then once they're all painted and assembled, I'll show you that part. Then they can be actually fitted onto the model, and then the wheels can be screwed on. And then that, other than adding the Lamborghini decals to the outside of the body, this Pocher Huracan is nearly finished. Okay, so just a bit of an update. That is all the brake rotors finished. Now, as you can see with the Tremonia kit, with all the little bolts that go on these two-piece rotors, they look a lot more detailed than when they were originally just cast in plastic. So pretty happy with the carbon finish too, which was the Zero Paints carbon ceramic grey disc paint. That looks pretty realistic, so that's the first time I've used that. So that's all the brake rotors done, so they're ready to go onto the model. And I also repainted the door trims as well, where I had to sand them back. I've since fitted the speaker grills, as you can see, so they're ready to go in the model too. So what I'll do now, I'll get the brake rotors and the wheels screwed onto the model, and then we'll do a final update of this build. Okay, so that is the brake rotors on and the wheels on. So yeah, as I say, I'm pretty happy with that Zero Paints carbon disc paint color, and that is also the rear done as well. So you can actually see, give you a sneak peek, that I've actually slammed the model down by cutting 1.5 of the rings off the springs. Pretty much that is the model done. I've got a couple of things to do. I actually glued the rear window onto the engine cover. The double-sided clear tape that they give you was not very good, and that was lifting off, so I removed that tape and I've glued the window in place. Door trims are back on the model, and there's only a couple of things to do. Just give the model a polish up, put the windscreen wipers on, all the Lamborghini logos and emblems on the car, but that is pretty much all I have to do. So I'm not going to show you too much of the finished model. We're going to save that for the final video, which will be the debut of the finished model. So for today, that is going to wrap up part 8 of how to build the Pocher Lamborghini Huracan. And of course, this is my customized version, the Avio or Avio. So make sure you click that bell notification so you don't miss the debut of this finished model. Now, I have actually made a rear wing for this model as well, but I did start to film it, but I had a corrupted memory card, so I haven't been able to retrieve that video footage. But the model will be revealed with the rear wing on, all finished, and I'm pretty excited. It looks pretty good. So I hope you enjoyed this series of how to build the Pocher Lamborghini Huracan. Overall conclusion of the model, it does have quite a few issues, as you will have seen for those that watch the whole series. There are a few fitment issues and such with this model compared to the Pocher Aventador model, but overall most of those little issues have been able to be sorted out, and in the end we've got a pretty cool looking 1/8 scale model. So yeah, make sure you click that bell notification and stay tuned. I will reveal the finished model in the next few days. So I hope you enjoyed this build series. Until next time, thanks for watching Rob's Model Cars.